Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session on learning French. French, as you all know, is an extremely popular language. More than 300 million people speak this language across the world. More than 30 countries have French as an official language, and it is also the language of diplomacy. It is recognized as the work language at the United Nations and many other major organizations. So yes, it is an extremely popular language, a very elegant language, and something really worth learning for your benefit. In this session, we will be covering details about learning French in India, the certifications, the exams that you can give, the benefits of knowing the language, and of course, how knowing a foreign language opens up different career and employment opportunities for everyone. To help us, of course, with these points, we have with us our four panelists. So I will be introducing them one by one. To start off, let me introduce myself. My name is Yash. I am the Campus Finance Manager of Bangalore. With me, of course, today we have four other panelists. We have with us Mr. Christian, who is the Director of the Alliance Française in Bangalore. We have Ms. Marilyn, who is the Attaché for Cooperation in French Language, based out of Delhi. We have Ms. Komal Shah, who is a professor at the Alliance Française in Pune, and also Ms. Krusha, who is currently an international MBA student at IAE Gustav Eiffel. Thank you all for being here today and taking some time off to get into this session and to share with all of the viewers your experiences and, of course, some information about the language. For those of you who are interested in learning a new language, it definitely, as I mentioned, opens up a lot of horizons, both professionally as well as personally. Learning French in India is, of course, very much possible through the Alliance Française Network. So, of course, to give us a little more detail on this, I would like to invite our first panelist, Mr. Christian. So, Christian, can you just give us a little bit a little detail about the Alliance Française Network in India? What are the courses that you offer, how students can enroll for it, and the different types of courses that you offer?
Thank you so much, Yash. Let me share you first my screen. And let's start with the Alliance Française Network in India. And then I would like to treat what are the different types of courses that we propose, and then how to register for the courses at Alliance Française. And I would like to finish with the cultural aspect at Alliance Française. Is it okay for you?
Good. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. So the Alliance Française, thank you. So the Alliance Française network. The Alliance Française in India is a network of 14 language centers of excellence scattered across the country, some of which are over 100 years old. Our main aim is to teach the French language and to promote cultural diversity. We are therefore both a language and a cultural center. 25,000 different students took French courses in the Alliance Française Network in India in 2021. And the Alliance Française Network is developing a strong partnership with the French Embassy, which provides support, for example, in terms of teachers' training, certification, and the provision of teaching materials. We are certification centers of the Delf and DALF, which will be presented by my colleague Marilyn. So, what are the different types of courses at Alliance Française? We offer FLE courses. FLE means Français langue étrangère. French has a foreign language for non-French speaking students, and we follow the common European framework of reference for languages. We cater for all levels, children, young people and adults, from beginners, A1 and A2, through intermediate B1 and B2, to advanced C1 and C2. We offer different rhythms according to the needs: intensive, 5 times a week; weekday, 3 or 4 times a week; and on weekends. We develop different types of courses: normal courses, conversation classes, and we offer workshops on grammar, phonetics, and pronunciation. In our catalog, we also have exam preparation courses and private tuition. I don't want to dwell on it, but we also respond to training requests from corporates based in India, with relations with France or French-speaking countries. Depending on their needs, we give them either general French courses or French for specific purposes, which can be accompanied by a professional diploma, like business French or French for tourism. How do I register for the courses? There are 2 ways. The first one is come to the campus, get information, and register with the front desk staff. That is the first one. The second one, you can go through our respective websites, which provide online registration. For students who have already studied French, we propose a placement test, which allows them to know their exact level of French. This test takes 1 hour and a half and evaluates the different linguistic skills, namely oral and written comprehension, oral and written production. And for the beginner level, no prerequisites are required. I would like to finish on the cultural aspect at Alliance Française, because it is very important for us. In each Alliance Française, we offer services related to learning French, such as the media library or CultureTech. CultureTech is a platform for reading magazines, books, and comics, and watching films. We also offer a cultural program that covers performing arts, cinema, literature, and increasingly we are investing in the social field to deal with contemporary societal themes, such as the place of women in society, gender, equity, etc. I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian, for that, for those valuable information that you have just given us. So as he mentioned, for those who want to know more, you can always email the Alliance Française. It's all the contact details available on their website. You can always also visit your nearest Alliance Française to know more, to enroll for classes and all of that. Christian, just a couple of more questions related to the courses that you offer. So at the moment, of course, we do have the COVID pandemic going on. In an ideal world, of course, we do have in-person classes and everyone is together in a classroom. What changes come about at the moment, and when are you looking to go back to in-person classes?
Yeah, because of the pandemic, as you said, we have only online classes. But I think from March we will start the offline classes, and we will offer as well a co-model class. That it means you can follow the offline classes, but you can be online and offline together. And yes, we expect to start these offline classes on March.
Okay.
We don't want to wait more.
Yes, of course. Everyone wants to be back with physical classes. It's the best way to learn the language. Thank you so much, Christian, for the information. Moving on a little towards the DALF certifications and the exams that you give post completion of a course. So for that, we have with us Marilyn, who will be taking us through some brief information on these certifications, what their relevance is, and of course, the registration and the exam procedures of the DELF and DALF. So yeah, over to you, Marilyn.
Thank you, Yash. Good evening, everyone. So I will share my screen also. So because you've taken classes at the Alliance Française, or you will take classes at the Alliance Française, after that, you will want to certify your French, your level of French. So you may apply for DELF or DALF. So DELF, which is a diploma in French language studies, or DALF, Advanced French Language Diploma, are official certifications awarded by the French Ministry of Education, and especially by France Éducation Internationale. These exams are for non-native speakers. They are worldwide recognized, and they have a lifetime validity. When you sit for a DELF or a DALF exam, you register directly for a specific level. There are 6 independent levels of proficiency based on the European framework, as well as you will learn French in the Alliance Française. A1 and A2, which are beginners and basic level. B1 and B2 for independent level. C1 and C2 for advanced or mastery level. Each diploma is indeed independent. It means that you don't need to pass A1 before A2 or B1 before B2. You can, if you have reached B1, you can directly sit for a DELF B1. It is a very flexible assessment system. It is up to you to choose your most appropriate level. And I'm sure that your teacher at the Alliance Française will be very helpful to guide you to choose the most appropriate exam. So when you pass the exam, you will be assessed through 4 skills: listening comprehension, reading comprehension, speaking, and writing, and this for each level. To pass the exam, you must get a minimum score of 50 points out of 100. For each skill, you can be awarded up to 25 points, and you must score at least 5 points in each skill. If you score less than 5 points in any skill, unfortunately, you will be considered eliminated. But I'm sure that you will manage very easily. The Alliance Française Network in India and the French Institute in Jaipur are the only accredited exam centers by the Embassy of France in India. There are 14 examination centers, 13 of the out of the 14 Alliance Française and the French Institute in Jaipur, as I said. If you are in a higher education system, so if you are 18 years old and more, you can pass DELF to public, and we have 5 sessions scheduled for 2022. The first one is in March, and the registration have already started. Second in June, then one in July, one in September, and one in December. If you are a student in high school, you can sit for DELF Junior, and we have 4 sessions in a year. The first one will be in April, second in July, and the third one in December. For further information about the closest exam center and registration for DALF exam, you may visit our website, ifindia.in/certification, and you will find all the information about the different exam centers, so the closest to you, and all the dates for every session. If you have any more questions, you can directly send an email to me at mla@ifindia.in, or to my colleague Kripalini, ksc@ifindia.in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marilyn. I'm sure this this information that you've given all of us, of course, has cleared most of the doubts that students may have when it comes to the certifications and the examinations. Just to give some clarity to potential students who want to give these examinations, can you just give us a little brief on the difference between the Alliance Française exam, which you take immediately after the course, and the difference between the DELF and the DALF examination? What is the exact relevance of the two?
So the exam, which is organized from the Alliance Française just directly after the session, is a test level which is recognized only by the Alliance Française, which tell you that you have finished the course. The DELF and DALF are official diplomas, so they are worldwide recognized. They are organized all over the world, and they have the same validity whether you pass the DELF in India or you pass the DELF in Mexico, for example.
Okay. Thank you so much, Marilyn. We will anyway be having a small Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. So I request Christian and Marilyn to stay back till the end of the session to help the students to answer a few of their questions. So as mentioned by our first 2 panelists, learning in French in India is definitely possible and made very easy through the Alliance Française Network. So that was about studying French in India. Our next panelist, Ms. Komal Shah, will be helping us understand the benefits and the difference between studying French in India and in France. So Komal, if you can just give us some information about what levels you completed in India and what course you took up in France.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I completed up to my level C2 in India before pursuing a master's in didactique des langues in France. So the master's in didactique des langues essentially is to teach French as a foreign language and to better, the teaching skill.
Okay, so how well, how was your experience, studying French in France, and what aspects were different compared to what you studied in India?
Honestly, it was very hands-on. You have to be so present when you're in France. There is so much movement every day. Even with the level C2, sometimes you feel, okay, am I saying this right? You're so worried all the time. So having the C2 obviously helped, knowing that I was able to gel and blend in well with the locals, communicate, partake in, just everyday debates. When you go out with friends, your classmates, you're not hanging back because you have like a language crunch or vocabulary crunch. You're able to express yourself, and that's the most important part, because the French are so talkative and so expressive. They love to interact with everyone, and I think I was honestly really happy because I was a little scared as a student. So my speaking, as much as I tried, didn't really flare out the way I wanted until I went there, and they appreciated the French that I spoke, and that kind of like gave me the push to widen my horizons and really get talking with everyone and interactive. So learning French in India was great because I had all the basics in place that I needed. I didn't have to worry so much about structure. I didn't have to worry about vocabulary. I already had a great linguistic baggage, as we call it in jargon, before going to France. So that was very helpful for me.
So it definitely, you do feel that it is more beneficial to do your foundation courses in India before you do any course in France?
I think up to the level B2, yes. Primarily because of the cultural setup we are in. So very often living in India, being Indians, learning through locals over here in India itself, we are able to help you connect more with the language through local examples, even sometimes reference to the native language if it's absolutely required, which lets us feel confident about what we're saying. Everyone does not speak English very well. So I live in Pune. There's a lot of Marathi and Hindi that is being spoken over here. English is not always everyone's first language. So that obviously helps, learn the language better with the help of, and then you have classmates who understand you at a cultural level as well. And you are able to vent your frustrations. If you're not following something, you're able to study with people. You are able to ask people in a level above you or below you. It's easier to communicate because also for me, the Alliance Française had become like a family when I was studying here. So it was just great for me.
Okay. So of course you are currently certified jury member for the DELF and DALF examinations. Do you on your part have any specific advice for students who want to give these exams? Basically speaking about the method of preparation, how beneficial it is to do these exams?
Okay, so I'm going to be speaking as a teacher on this front. So the most important thing is attending class regularly. It's just listening to French on a daily basis, being able to partake in class, speaking, expressing yourself. All these things they're very small things, but when it comes to, say, for example, in the A2 level or the B1 level, there is a monologue, or a small dialogue that has to be put out. If the student is present in class every day, there's this presence of mind which allows the student to react with any question that the jury member can throw at him or her. When it comes to, or you're able to adapt yourself to the situation because you've been in class, you have been following with what is being done. Apart from that, there's always, so as Christian, he mentioned, we have Culture, which is the online library. So there is enough books, magazines, podcasts, videos accessible. Over and above that, there is OTT as well. So listening is not a problem. Reading, there are simple books, there are higher level books, everything is available to the students. But so apart from attending class, there is a lot of effort that one has to put in from oneself as well to be able to keep up with what is being done. Apart from that, it's yeah, that's about it. Yes.
Okay. So I think most of the viewers, whoever does want to give these examinations, the Alliance Française Network is of course very much there to help you with it, provided you also put in some of the hard work from your end, and I think it should be easy for you to take up these exams. So you did your course in France. You studied French in France. So what kind of opportunities in terms of employment or career opportunities did it open up for you, speaking in France as well as back here in India?
Right. So I went to France with a little bit of work experience, actually, which worked great for me. So I was already teaching at the Alliance before I decided I wanted to pursue a master's. So that actually let me teach French locally at the university for the summer school over there, which was really helpful for my career. And I also got the opportunity to work at another Alliance Française in Southeast Asia, which was great. So that was huge cultural and like broadening my horizon. I learned to work with people who don't, like, I had nothing in common with. You didn't even speak the same base language, so that was the challenge. It really helped me grow as a teacher. And so studying in France and working with at a French public university really helped me understand basic nuances, helped me understand why it's important to try to start building a foundation, which I had done back home in the language, which is why when I was studying over there, I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any hangups. I could take it as, it went every single day. So it was beneficial in that sense.
Okay. So you, of course, have completed a high level of French. And you did mention while we were speaking before this webinar that you've done some amount of translation and interpretation as a volunteer. So can you just give us a little more on what translation interpretation is, what kind of horizon it opens up for students, basically who want to get into subtitling, translation, all of those things?
Okay, so subtitling is the hot topic of at the moment. Everyone wants to get into that because it's a great thing. We have so many films, so many documentaries, so many series available in so many languages. So they will always be looking for subtitlers. We are always churning out content. So subtitling is obviously soon going to become a big market. So if you're interested in that, it's important to have completed up to your level C2 at least, because as mentioned by the earlier panelists as well, C2 is proficient level or mastery in the language. So those levels help you really get into the basic nuances, able to judge the context correctly, because subtitling, translation, interpretation, whatever it may be, is a lot, it depends a lot on context. So that's right. So as you said, I have done voluntary interpretation for ASMA Foundation, which is an extension of the Sodexo group in India. They have a couple of, they fund a couple of orphanages and local schools in Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. So I was working with the few representatives who'd come in from France to visit their schools in Maharashtra. So it was interesting for me to be present and to translate directly from Marathi into French and back to Marathi. And interpreting as on the go, and what was very important was there could not have been room for any form of misinterpretation or misrepresentation, because my Marathi colleagues were obviously explaining the situation as it is, and those who had come from France needed to understand the situation. So that is something that's really important, and those nuances I was able to gauge and present rightly, purely because I had taken the effort to go as deep as possible in the language learning process. So whether it's translation, interpretation, or subtitling, the more you learn the language, the higher the level, the better you're going to be at it. Then, of course, in translation, you have technical and non-technical translation. That's a field you choose as you go along the way. So translation, interpretation, for me personally, I did not like it, so I let go of that. But it's something that will always help you grow in the language even after you finish studying, which is the best part of it. Like you're done with your education, you're done with learning, but if you're a translator or an interpreter, it never stops, which is great.
Okay, thank you so much, Komal. This was very informative, and of course, it helps students understand that there are multiple possibilities and opportunities with the language. So, of course, this was very helpful. Thank you so much for the information on that.
Thanks, Yash.
Moving on quickly to our next participant, next panelist, Ms. Krusha. She's been kind enough to join us all the way from Paris. So thank you for taking some time out and being a part of this session. So you have finished a very high level in French, which is C1, which is pretty high for students who want to learn the language. What exactly made you fall in love with the language and go all the way up till the level C1?
That's actually a little personal because my mom speaks French. She's done her master's in French. And because of that, I studied French in a summer course for children at the Alliance Française when I was, I think, 11 or 12. And because of that, I really liked it. I loved the way that they taught at the Alliance Française, and it was very interactive. So I started a proper A1 level when I was in high school. And at that point, I was only learning it because I liked how the language sounded and I wanted to, be better at it. But eventually I realized the number of opportunities that it opens up. And that's when I decided that I really want to go, further and continue until a level like C1. So it started off very personal, but eventually I realized the professional opportunities of it as well.
Did you do your levels, your courses only at the Alliance? Were you also taking French in college? How did that help out?
Yeah, so when I started, like I mentioned, I started off when I was in high school in 9th and 10th grade. And then because I really liked the language, I also took it up in college and I did 2 years of it there. But after college, I continued with B2 and C1 eventually. So I did both.
So how do you think knowing the language helped you in your career after your bachelor's or high school?
Right. So pretty much every opportunity I've had since college has been thanks to the French language. So not pretty much all of them, actually. So the first opportunity that I had fresh out of college was that I got to do the assistant d'anglais program in France. And for that, you require a B1 level of French. So that was the first opportunity that I got immediately after college in a couple of months. And I came to France. And after that, when I went back to India, I got a job at Campus France. And I was a Campus France manager for about 4 years, for which, again, French is really essential and it helps you a lot. And when I decided to quit that and move back to studies, speaking French or knowing French helped me choose France to come here for my MBA. So every step of the way, it's been the French language that has pushed me and helped me.
Okay. Now, of course, you are right now in Paris and you're pursuing a master's course, which turns out 100% taught in English.
Yeah.
But how do you think the language has benefited you in this kind of a course?
So it's benefited me in two ways. Obviously, speaking the language helps you in a social integration aspect, which Komal also mentioned. She said that she found it very easy to integrate and have, make friends and stuff. But apart from that, it also helps you in your day-to-day life when you are trying to buy tickets at the train station or your groceries. So that was super easy for me because I spoke the language. And on the other hand, when it comes to something more work-related, knowing the language helped me a lot in administrative matters with the school or with my bank account or with my healthcare and stuff. And lastly, also for internship searches. So it helped me a lot when it came to that as well.
So you did mention internship. Did it help you specifically with your interviews? And is it true that employers usually seek out candidates who have proficiency in the language?
Definitely, because in my class, I have students from 14 different nationalities almost, and a lot of them speak at least some level of French, which helps immensely in landing an internship, which is I think there's an internship at the end of every master degree almost in France, which is really practical. So when it came to the internship interviews, even though they understand that you are looking for a role that could be in English, they would really appreciate if you speak a certain level of French, because it helps you interact better with your colleagues or understand the job better. So it really helped me in getting more interviews than normal if I didn't speak French.
Okay. So basically, it shows that if France does offer, 100% taught in English programs, and you don't
Yeah.
need prerequisite to enroll into these programs for higher education, but it's always beneficial to have
Sure.
a certain level just to get through for your day-to-day life and
Yeah.
for employment and internship opportunities as well. Okay, before we move on to the end towards the Q&A session, where we'll be taking a couple of questions from the viewers, I would want to ask you, what advice would you give students who are newly starting or want to start learning French?
I would tell you that French is a lovely language, not only because it sounds nice and not only because of the, of the opportunities, but it's really nice to learn a language because the language is basically like a portal through, to the culture of the people. And I think that's really nice. So if you're starting off with A1 and A2, I would really recommend that you take it seriously and you study, like Komal said, you put in the work, because it can't only go one way. So because the language will help you immensely in every aspect. I can see a couple of questions how it says professionally and stuff, because apart from what Komal and I have done also, there's so many opportunities. If you speak French, even in the IT sector, in almost every domain that you can think of, you can use a language, to your advantage. So speaking the language, learning the language to a good level, at least an intermediate or advanced, would be really useful for you. So take it seriously.
Okay, that's great. I think this brings us to the end of our discussion. So we'll be taking a couple of questions that have been coming in throughout this session. So I'll just probably read out a couple, and if anyone wants to take it up, then you can always unmute and answer. So we do have a question that, do beginners have to give any test before enrolling into a course at the Alliance? Christian, Marilyn, do you want to take this up?
Okay, so if you're like a total beginner, Christian, tell me if I'm wrong, but you don't need to go through a test. Like if you start from scratch, just register to like level A1.
Okay, we have a question. I think this I would target either Komal or Krusha. There's a question that on a daily basis, what is the best way to improve your language once you start learning it?
So go ahead, yeah.
Oh, thanks. Honestly, reading the newspaper online, watching videos, series, and something that my students love to tell me they like doing is switching the language on their phone from English to French, just to get whatever little French on their daily interaction on a daily basis. So that too. But apart from that, movies, videos, songs, whatever gets you going, go for it. Make it as fun as you want. It's not rote learning that's going to help you here, but it's going to be how you create a bond with the language. So make it as fun as possible.
And also another thing that's really useful to do is if you're in the really basic level, this is something that I used to do in the basic level, is that if you're doing something, for example, you're cooking, tell yourself what you're doing in French, like in your own mind, so that you're forming sentences continuously of your daily life, which helps you speak better in class as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Komal, there's a question which is specifically directed to you. I think there are two of them. How are the employment opportunities different in France compared to India? And where can we use French as an advantage to land a job other than France?
So how are the employment opportunities in France compared to India? Like Krusha said, if you speak French, you're great. It's all good to go. You'll find a good job. You'll be able to grow in it as well. You'll obviously widen your horizons. So French will be a prerequisite when you're in France. There are a lot of startups now because France has really opened up for the startups. It's becoming like an incubator economy for startups as well. So you will find a lot of people who've come in from the US or England who will have opportunities in English, no doubt. But if you spoke French, it'll be a plus for you. And where can you use French as an advantage in order to land a job other than France? Locally in the French companies in India, if that's something that you're looking at. Apart from that, like for example, Amazon, Google, Accenture, AXA, BNP, all these companies always have openings for French-speaking locals, because they need you to kind of bridge the gap between them and the Francophone world. So you will obviously have that opportunity as well. I hope I've answered your question.
Okay, there are a lot of questions coming in on the duration of courses. So approximately how long does it take to go from A1 to B1? And we also have a question on how long it took either of you to finish C1 and C2.
So A1 to B1 is 6 and 6, about a year. A1 to B1. About a year. That's on a regular, that's a 5-day course. Like if you're doing a 5-day week course, so that's a normal course. If you go in for the weekend course, it'll take much longer because then the weekend is much shorter duration of work hours. And as far as C1, so I did my C1 like donkeys years ago. So my C1 was that time 9 months long and my C2 was shorter. So it was 3 months. So, but again, between C1 and C2, I spent an entire year. So for me, it was a year, but I think today we spend about 6 months and about another 3 months. So 9 months in total to complete C1 and C2. Yeah.
I think there's one question which I think I can push on to Krusha. So the question is it since you are of course right now in France, is it easier to learn French vocabulary in France with the locals, or would it be better to to try and study it better in India?
Both, because the vocabulary that you learn in both places is so different. So in class you would obviously learn something more formal, more professional, but when you come here and you make friends, you learn the day-to-day language and the slang and stuff. So a mix of both is great.
I think there's one question to Marilyn. What is the difference between the TEF and the DELF examination?
So the TEF or the TCF are tests which are official certifications or two. But when you sit for a TEF or a TCF, you don't pass a specific level. It's an assessment of your level. So at the end of the test, you will know which level you have reached. And it's valid for 2 years only. You usually use the TEF or TCF when you apply for an immigration project for Quebec or Canada. But you will also need it if you want to apply for a French university, because you will have to reach a B2 level. But the DELF works too. And DELF, so as I said, you have for DELF, you have to, you apply directly for a specific level. And I just saw a question asking which level is required for TEF. Actually, there is no level required. Like you just pass your TEF, and at the end of the test, you will know which level you've reached.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. Krishna, there's one question.
Yes, I want just to say that
Yes.
for students who want to pass the TEF or TCF, we ask them to do the assessment test. And then they can know if they are ready, because TEF is costing much. So I think to pass the assessment test gives you a first idea. And if you are not totally ready, you can do the preparation before you pass the test.
Thank you so much. I think we don't have any more time to take questions. So before I end this session, just for all of the viewers, we are hosting the first edition of the Choose France tour in March. So this is a platform where you can log in, speak to French representatives of French universities on a one-on-one basis. If you are a faculty member, if you are a part of international relations of an Indian institute, you can get in touch with French representatives to discuss potential and possible collaborations. There'll be multiple webinars that will be happening on the day. So just to register for that, you can log on to choosefrance.in, and on March 11th, you can log in and speak to representatives, attend the webinars, and a couple of other things as well. Okay, I think we've reached the end of the session. Thank you so much, all of you, for taking some time off to be a part of this session, to give your valuable inputs to everyone who's watching. I think most of the questions were already answered, but the ones that weren't, I think we've covered all of them. Again, thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely evening ahead. Take care. Thank you.